If your business is growing, but you feel more overwhelmed or reactive and more responsible for every little detail, the problem may not be your work ethic. It may be your systems. You did not start your business to just become trapped inside it. The conversation today we're having is all about scaling without burnout, building workflows that support you, and creating a business that gives back the freedom. Welcome back to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Dahya. Today we're taking a deep dive into something I know a lot of us wrestle with, especially those of us running a service-based business: how to grow without burning out ourselves in the process. I'm really looking forward to the conversation because so many entrepreneurs start a business for freedom, but somewhere along the line, they became trapped by the very thing they created. The inbox never stops, the admin keeps piling up, client onboarding becomes manual, and every decision still runs through the founder. My guest today helps us navigate this, and she reminds us that real growth does not come from just working harder or doing more, but from building the right structure behind the business so that the business can support the leader instead of constantly draining them. Jillian Bailey is a founder of the Inspired Growth, where she helps service-based entrepreneurs and professionals build businesses that feel more structured, sustainable, and easier to lead. Through operational support, business efficiency coaching, workflow design, and strategic guidance, Jillian helps business owners identify what is slowing their growth, reduce the day-to-day overwhelm, and create simple systems that support long-term success. Her work is especially valuable for entrepreneurs who have built something successful but now find themselves caught in the manual tasks, repeated decisions, and messy processes of pressure being in the center of everything. Jillian helps them step back, simplify the complexity, and create the business that they can grow into without constant rework. Jillian, welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective.
Thank you so much for having me, Anthony.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Jillian. I'd love to explore your journey in life from childhood to now. How did you get here?
That's such a great question. I think with business and efficiency, since I was young, I was like, how can it be better and how can I make it an improvement in the process? So even as simple as like cleaning up, like how can I make it faster? Or if it was chores, I mean, that's the same as cleaning up, but sometimes you would just, clean your plate after dinner. Sometimes it'd be like assign chores for mom when you were little. And even that, I'm like, how can I make it the quickest, absolute fastest way with still being quality enough for mom? And then as I got older, I had not high school, I had more time, but college, I did not. I worked usually 2 or 3 jobs. And so it was really, really, really crucial that I maximize my effort and my time. So it became very easy for me to be like, this will be the most effort, this will be the least amount of effort. So even if it was, one of those crazy professors, I would know, hey, I could put in like 4 hours on this project and I could get a B, or I could put in like 11 and get an A, and I'm going to like really be excited for my B because I don't have 11 hours. I also need to sleep. So just really efficiency and maximizing like all of my time. So carried that into college and then into my master's, into corporate, and then now into Inspired Growth. And so I just want to help other business owners be able to maximize their time and be more efficient in ways that I found beneficial for myself and my team.
Great. That's a great journey, and it's so much you feel fulfilled when you're actually helping other people.
Yes.
And you get to fill up your bucket by helping people and seeing them succeed as well. So it's a great thing that you're doing with Inspired Growth. So thank you for sharing that. Jillian, it feels like so many entrepreneurs leave the employment and wanting to have more freedom, only to build a business that now depends entirely on them. Why do you think this happens so often?
Typically, when you are working a standard job, you're working in one line, So even if you are a higher level or more complex job, you often are still in your bubble. So like if you are IT, that can be very complex and it's still a bubble of IT. And when you get out and you are doing a job, you are doing every single position in your business. And so oftentimes we think we are super intelligent and we've got this. And if I can do this job, then I can do a business. But a business is different because instead of wearing like 5 hats, you are wearing like 55 hats. So you can often get spread thin very quickly.
Yeah, that's very true. What are some of the first signs that entrepreneurs might be noticing in their business that has become too founder dependent? Because I've been talking to a lot of founders and business owners, and they're still involved in the nitty gritty of doing the work.
Yeah, I think a lot of times a really good sign that you aren't really stuck is when everyone is asking you the questions. And so you should have processes in place, even if you are a one person business, where there's automatic replies going out with certain information contained that can eliminate questions. But also, if you are to the point where you even have one other employee, you should find a way to filter that. And so if all your time is approving and looking at stuff, then you really need to evaluate what did you if you're a single person in the business, then you need to evaluate what could I automate to explain this better. So even if they buy a package from you, like let's say a therapist, and so it's a whole program. And so people often want to know, like, when am I going to feel relief for the specific topic that they're in a program for? And that makes sense. Like you want to put in the work, but you're also looking for when am I going to see results? So in that case, that could be an amazing video that you send out with your welcome to your package. And you talk about in the video, this is what you're going to expect, and this is what you're going to see. And this is often when majority of clients see the most like emotional release in this program. And this is when typically they'll feel like the most freedom and the ability to do XYZ. And so even something as a very, very short 90-second clip that you send with it can eliminate it. And then if it's your team that
Mhm.
everyone is always asking you, then there needs to be like someone in between you and them or somebody on the team who wants to step up and be that filter. So really when you're like the bottleneck or life cannot go on for a couple days without you, it's a really big sign that you need to find a way to reevaluate and step back.
Yeah. And in this day and age with AI, what are your recommendations? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I think my first suggestion would be to are you single or are you a team? And so if you're single, I would ask yourself, are you looking maybe to hire? Because a lot of times you get so used to doing everything yourself. And sometimes we have these revenue goals or money goals. So I want to make like 3,000 a month or I want to make whatever, 10,000 a month before I hire someone. But oftentimes we're stopping by not looking to hire because we could make that twice as fast if we hired someone small. So when you take a step back, I wouldn't even honestly look at resources first. I would just take a step back and really time track your week, which is super annoying. It's super annoying to do it. But if you just there's so many free apps, Toggle's one of them. There's so many on the market. And you just check in and say what you're doing and check out. And then you can look at the end of the week and see where am I spending the majority of my hours? So am I looking at more hiring an employee like a virtual assistant? Am I looking more for like an online business manager? Am I looking more for even an errand person? Like if you have opened something that is mobile, even like a truck, a food truck, great. Do you need an employee because you actually physically go get your product? And it's like, no, I need my product from XYZ store because that's what make it taste so good. Great. Maybe you need someone to run and get those products for you. So it could be basic, like that one could be like a stay-at-home mom or a teenager as long as that they're reliable. But then you can dive deep. Or is it that I suck at automating emails? Okay, great. Then why don't you hire someone like a virtual assistant? You don't need someone super fancy for that. Or is it I have all the drive and I'm pretty directionless? And then that would be like, okay, I need like a project manager and OBM to like really help guide me. And you can definitely put all your stuff into any AI. So whether you use obviously the two common ones are like ChatGPT and then Claude. So if you use one of those, most people do, and they're talking about their business. So they'll be like, oh, today I did XYZ and I'm stuck here. What should I do? So if you have done that the whole time, you can also just ask that AI program, what do you notice I'm struggling with the most? And they'll spit it out. They'll say, you said you were frustrated about this. You said you were frustrated about this. You said you were frustrated about this. And then say, what does that look like I could possibly need? I'm thinking about hiring somebody. What role would I hire for and why? And
Mm,
it can kind of like give you some ideas in that aspect. And especially if you upload your time tracking to it and say, where am I wasting the most amount of time? It can also give you some hints there of like, well, I see a lot here and that's kind of a lot. And so you can be like, maybe you don't even know. Maybe you don't know it's a lot, you know? Like, how long does it take you to do like the research if you're doing research on a topic? Well, if it takes you 5 hours, maybe you should hire a researcher. So just little things like that to give yourself a hint. But the more asking AI is never a bad idea, but the more information you give, the more accurate. So even like in chat, if you say, should I hire a virtual assistant or an OBM, like an online business manager? And it might tell you one or the other, but you need to reword the question to say, who should I hire? Should it be a virtual assistant, an OBM, or somebody else? And so that way it can give you like even more hints if you can't see it with your eyes. But even if you can, once you look at the sheet, it's
mm,
always great to toss it back into chat because it's just a different perspective.
yeah, 100%. So there's a lot of tools out there, and you can do time tracking in different ways, and absolutely AI is one of the ways, one of the tools you can use as well.
Yes.
And as you said, Jillian, the more you talk to it, the more it knows about you, the more
Mm-hmm.
it can then give you context. Nowadays, I don't have to give it too much context before it already knows, because
Because you
I've been
built it
using it
out.
for 3 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I can ask it, and literally just before this call, I was saying, look, I've got to come up with a business model for voice agents for a client, and the pricing plans and this and that. And
Yes.
I gave it all the different platforms I'm using, and it worked out all the costs and gave me the recommendations and the packages, and yeah,
Oh,
so all that hard
amazing.
work that I would have had to do, which could have taken me probably a whole day to do, is done
A
in within
whole
10
day.
minutes.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
you can always tweak it, or you can always say, you can ask in the industry, like, what do you think a normal rate for this would be? And you can find a couple websites and throw them into ChatGPT and say, does the pricing I picked
Yeah.
align with what we decided on? And then it can kind of like give you some feedback. And so it's really nice as far as like getting that personalized voice in there and getting like multiple opinions in there. So it definitely can save a ton of time if you use it. And I'm one of my favorite features is just like the voice chat because I can put my headphones on and turn the voice chat on and just like walk around and like say my thoughts. And then even if I'm feeling scattered, I can just brain dump, everything out and then say, put this in a list of what I should do today. And then I can even look and then could say back in the voice, like you said, do A, B, C, and D, but I think D would be most important to start with. And because of this, I'm like, oh yes, that's absolutely right, which it always says you're absolutely right. But then you can be like, no, this is where I want to start. And I think it's always a phenomenal place to save time, but also use your own intuition of like the pricing. I'm going to compare a few websites, and that's going to only take me less than 20 minutes. And I'm going to say, does this align with what I'm actually finding? And then you're
Mm,
like, good, it is. It's just slightly off. And then you can decide from there. But yeah, it is amazing and fantastic to use.
yeah, 100%. I even use it on my walks. If I go on a walk and I come up with an idea,
Nice.
I'll just dictate it and say, hey, check, this is the idea. By the time I get home, it's already ideated it. So by the time I get home, I can go straight to my desktop version and be able to carry on. And so that's great. Now, why do you feel, in your experience, that entrepreneurs normalize the chaos instead of putting systems in place?
I think the beginning of any new journey, it's very chaotic. Like at the beginning of any new job, like it doesn't matter how high level the job is. Like I could probably go get a job at McDonald's today and I would be like, what's happening? Because I'd be like, what's the order and what's my role and how do I fit and what's my exact job? And will I only be on this job? Will I be doing other jobs? Like will I be thinking McDonald's? I just took my kids, but could I be at the register? Could I be doing like the cooking? Could I be the window person? There are all these different things. So for the first couple weeks, I would probably feel overwhelmed. And that's how it is at any job, whether you're work at McDonald's, whether you work in corporate America, whether you work as like anything, an engineer, a lawyer, like a doctor, your first month for sure is usually chaotic. And then it kind of evens out. It's like those uphill battle mountains, and then you just smooth out. So with entrepreneurship, there are so many hills. There are so many hills that it is very hard to see when are you supposed to be smoothing out? When are you supposed to be like, quote unquote, landing a plane, you know? And determining that typically means like you've gotten so full that you need to either like hire out, like hopefully they already use AI, right? Hopefully they already use that, but then they need to hire out. And how do they need to hire out? And so a lot of it is like letting go of stuff you've done. In a way, it often feels like failure. I can't do this anymore, so I have to hire someone because I am not capable. And that's like not the truth. It's that you're expanding and you're growing bigger. And instead of growing laterally, you need to grow horizontally. And so, in order to do that, you need to expand your team. And again, with that feeling of like, I am failing and loss of control and I can't do this, it's often seen and felt as a failure when it's really not. It's really so you can horizontally grow.
Yeah, it's you're in the weeds. You're climbing the mountain for a long time. I'm doing this accelerator with the Dent, which is Daniel Priestley's business, and for a large portion of entrepreneurship, you're in the wilderness. You're in that wilderness for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, and this is one of the things we learned, is that if you are trying to do everything yourself, then you're just going to stay stuck
Mm-hmm.
and be in the chaos. But be able to get someone to help you, which could be a virtual assistant or someone who can do admin work for you. Also systemizing so that you can use AI or even automation can help. So we often hear about scaling, but I think many business owners, more growth can actually feel like more pressure and overwhelm. What does sustainable scaling look like for a service-based business?
Sustainable scaling is really growing at a rate that you feel like you can handle. And so it's really up to you and your individual goals. So you want to be making decisions, typically slowly in some capacity, right? Like if you have an idea and it only takes a couple hours to put it in place and try it, knock yourself out, do it quick. But if it's like, oh, for this idea, I have to like get graphics developed, I have to hire 3 people, like I have to create, like a new social media. Those are decisions that you don't want to make quickly because oftentimes it can just create a whole nother like whirlwind funnel. So when you're first doing it and you even said you're in the wilderness, yeah, you are. And because everything is new. But oftentimes when you create a new offer, that can still feel like the wilderness depending on how you are doing it. So you want it to be very, very, very systemized. So what can be automated? And this is another good one to throw into chat. I'm thinking about this offer, or I'm thinking about expanding in this way, XYZ, ABC. Please tell me all the cons and all the pros and list them out. And then you'll see there's going to be something on there that you didn't think about, right? Because we're only one person and chat's like all the people. So it's like, then we can look in there and see. And then you can even say, well, this con, like, how would I overcome? And you can go through each one and say it. And if you do have a team, more than welcome to use your team to do this and then look at the final draft and then go over it yourself, like what sticks with you. Because you definitely want to utilize the team if you have them, but you also don't want to have like your own opinion X out of your own business. So I always advise like reviewing those final things when there are big changes. But then seeing like what is a step that we can make in this direction. Like, do we need to hire someone to run this project? Okay, well, that means I'd be looking for a project manager, right? So do I know of anybody who knows a project manager, and just kind of like put feelers out, or where's the best place to look for one, and then go about that route. And then you could even start like interviewing and saying, I'm not looking to hire between like 1 and 3 months, but I'm looking to conduct interviews now. And as you interview and you start to hear what people can say and what they can do, it can even give you a better idea for how you want to utilize them inside of your expansion. And then you can build that out. Okay, they said they could do this, and I never thought about it. How could I utilize them? How could we make this system better? And then you can have a very clear onboarding process with a project manager. So I want them to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, E, E, F, G, right? And then like, how long is this going to take you? How many hours are they working? And it can go like so much smoother with planning. Now you can do all this like a couple days if you wanted, and then just interview and hire. But it's really great if you can talk to chat, talk to a real person, like anyone who's hired a project manager. What are the pros and the cons? What am I looking for? Get some actual like experience from somebody that you know or that has a similar leadership style to you can just really, really help. So that way, as you are scaling, you are not going backwards. Because if you hire poorly, you will go backwards, and if you hire and you have no path and no plan, you'll often go backwards. So it's like you just don't want to waste your funds feeling like you're sliding down the hill because it feels very discouraging.
Yeah, good advice. How can someone tell the difference between a healthy growth and the growth that actually is quietly creating burnout?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think one of the main things to look at is how it's impacting you, your team, and your revenue. So if revenue is going down, that's always big sign, big, very obvious sign. But how is your team reacting to it and how are you reacting to it? So are you feeling good? Are you not feeling good? Because oftentimes we ignore like the inner voice that's saying, this doesn't feel great. And that's a time to just pause. It does not mean your path that you chose or what you are doing is wrong or like an expansion is a bad area, but it could be that you've missed a few steps along the way and you just need to pause and clean it up as you go. Because we should really start. I heard this quote once that says, if you need to start messy, and if you start and you are not messy, you started too late. And I love that quote because we often are going to learn as we do. We learn so much more from action steps than we do from planning from a computer. So we want to make sure we're taking those action steps, but we want to be open to it might not be the best path, or we might have just missed some steps on the way. So I always say to try and evaluate, even set that in your calendar when you do anything new and set a reminder in 1 week and then 2 weeks after that and 2 weeks after that until the system feels great. Because when you sit down, most people, when you sit down and you think about a process, there are ways that you can make it better. And it can be even at home, like it could be that you're having a crazy busy week. So this week you should not go shop for groceries. You should do a grocery delivery. like, because if you sat and you're like, okay, how has my week been? And you're like, wow, so busy, I kind of feel burnt out. Then no, you should not go grocery shopping, right? And that's a life example, but it's the same inside of our business. We will say, wow, this feels like a lot. And then you're like, okay, then something is not right. So a lot of times if you just listen to how you feel about it, like are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling stressed out?
Mm,
And just evaluating that and seeing. And you can even again same voice text with or type it out with any type of AI. I'm feeling stressed about this. Do you know what the issue is? Is there a way to solve it? And just kind of air it out for, is there a solution that helps you know
mm,
when it's becoming unhealthy and holding you back?
yeah. Yeah, that's good advice. Great. Thank you for that, Jillian. What is one common myth about scaling that you often have to debunk?
I would say there's like a few, but I think I would say you want to create a business that runs efficiently. And so if people already have a team or even don't, sometimes their first jump is to hire. But oftentimes you have to make sure, are there any systems that I need in place before I do that? That would not only make hiring smoother, but might eliminate needing a hire. And so just researching and being the biggest thing is just being honest with yourself. Like if you know, oh my gosh, these admin tasks would take me like 4 hours and being honest, are you going to do them? So if you're not, okay, then can you hire an admin contractor? Can you hire for real? But it doesn't mean hire for real, hire full time. But it doesn't mean like you have to hire, but it means you need to evaluate what it is you're not doing and why. So that way you can really evaluate where you are in business and if you're to that point, or if you're, you just need to sit down with yourself or set a timer, or simple human psychology where you're like, as soon as I finish this, I'm going to do XYZ. And it's something like you've been really wanting to do, whatever motivates you. We're all different and individual, but really looking at that. And I think a part of it is where you're really at, not only in your business. And I hate to say the word like emotionally, but where are you emotionally? Like, is maybe the reason you're slowing down because you hate the same task and you have to do it once a week, Okay. Like, is there anything you can do about that one task? Is there a way that you can reframe it? Like maybe instead of being like, oh, I hate this because it's done weekly. Maybe I could say, thank God I have a repetitive task that I get to start every Monday with. So I know exactly when I sit down, I don't even have to think. I just have to start on this task. Like that could be your reframe. Or could it be, is there a way to automate this? Is there any type of way to take any part of it out and automate it? Maybe it's an hour task, right? But you go to automate 20 minutes of it. So then it's only 40. That's way less tasking. Or are you to the point where you want to hire out? So I think it's a very big scaling method of more people makes it simpler, and it doesn't if you're not ready for that aspect. So really looking inward helps a lot.
Yeah, and we recently on one of the Dean sessions, that's what Topher Morrison was talking about, is that often you try and do things yourself, but when you actually hire people, it releases you to do more things. And you got to look at the time that you're spending doing that work as well. If you're, as a CEO or entrepreneur, if your charge out rate is, say, $500 an hour, then is the work that you're doing actually worth doing? Or could you hire someone that you could pay a small amount to be able to then free you up to be doing more meaningful stuff? Which is, for us entrepreneurs, what that is really getting out there, connecting and bringing in more sales, right?
Yes.
Is connecting with our networks and building relationships and leads and sales and so on. And often those leads are right beneath our noses. I've spoken with a couple of people recently who have said that you don't need to look for more leads externally because you've already got a network of people that you can call upon, and often there'll be customers there. If you're systemizing, hiring people that can help you do the admin work is really important. You often talk about gaining operational clarity before just adding more marketing or more team members. Why is clarity so important as a first step? And this is a question I really love myself because this is the journey that I'm on with my clients, is providing clarity in this overwhelming state that we are in with AI and automation.
Yeah.
And I also loved what you talked about before, is that your emotional state, right? Because who you are as a person and your emotional state mirrors who you are in your business as well. So why is clarity so important as the first step?
I feel like the biggest thing that I notice with clarity is you can't improve what you don't understand. So if, again, you're trying to do any of the steps, right? Ask AI, hire somebody, you want to automate stuff, you want to create a system, you want to hire someone even to tell you what to do, you want to hire someone who's like an online business manager. If you don't know what you need, you're not even going to be able to express that. Like, not only are you going to probably hire the wrong person, right? Or probably make the wrong system, or talk to AI. Like, if AI is going to say, how can I help you? Right? If you do the voice one. And if you're like, I don't know, I just need something. Like, AI itself is going to be like, okay, could you provide me with some more detail so I can help you? So it's like, even AI is going to know, like, what do you want me to tell you to do? To like cook some pudding, to take your dog on a walk, to hire in your business, to create a system. I can't tell you if you don't have the information. And so if you do not improve, if you do not understand, there is no way to improve it. So if you just have that reflection and sit back, and again, it does not need to be like a massive reflection. Sometimes people do that. They'll take like a whole day to reflect. I've done that before, so I'm like all about it if that's what you need. But sometimes it's as much as like, I'm going to think about it, or I'm going to talk to ChatGPT, or I'm literally going to call like my best friend or my spouse or my mom. I don't know, because everyone is different, and just talk about like, this seems like it's bothering me what I'm saying, or a therapy session. Shoot, if you have a therapist, I'm like, some of those covered by insurance are pretty cheap. Go to them and be like, what am I saying is the problem? And oftentimes, like people will even hear what you are not hearing because they'll say, I've heard you say this phrase like 5 times now. And you're like, did I? Okay, I'm going to write this down. And then you can kind of get to the bottom of like, what is truly bothering me so you know what to do. Because again, like you said, if your hourly is 500 and you're doing this admin task that's like a $15 an hour admin task, let's just not, you know, because it's a waste, and it's a waste of your mental space that you have to give to your clients. Like, we don't want to be taking something that's that significant, that big of a jump, and say, no, I'm going to do it myself. No, no, we don't. So until you get the understanding, you can't improve anything.
Yeah, exactly. Clarity is so important. And one of the things I'm doing at the moment is I take business owners through a clarity assessment. It's called an AI clarity assessment. And it actually looks at 6 different areas of your business, including the leader itself, to 6 different areas. And then it's a whole lot of questions that we go through, and then giving them a full detailed recommendation on how they can move forward in their business using automation or AI. But without that conversation initially, they won't know what is possible. So, Jillian, for someone who's feeling overwhelmed, where do they begin even to look for that clarity?
I think that first step would be time tracking, to just really see how
Mhm.
they're spending their time. Because oftentimes we're overwhelmed and it's over something that we're working on that we really shouldn't be, that's not in our zone of genius, or that we need to take a step back from. So I would definitely time track first.
Yeah, awesome. Many of us get stuck in manual, repetitive tasks, whether it's client onboarding, scheduling, payments, and getting bombarded by emails. What is the hidden cost for those manual processes and the ones that drain hours from our week?
I think the biggest thing is that it really creates decision fatigue. It makes it very hard when you are constantly making a decision, even if like you don't have automated emails and every time someone sends on, you go to your Google Drive or whatever and you get it and you paste it in. Even that is on your to-do list. You're opening your email, you're opening Google Drive, you're copying, you're pasting, you're doing something that could be automated. And even though those small tasks seem small, they're not small at the end of the day, because then you have to make a decision about a client. Like, and this is like a client, it's not your paperwork. So it's important, and it's where your mental space should really be dedicated to. And you can't, because you've sent 17 non automated emails and your brain is tired. And so just realizing how much that drains you and how much it's going to take away from your creativity and your ability to work in what you thrive in is huge. Also, I would say just the amount of errors that happen are huge. So if you paste the email, but you accidentally copied and you didn't paste the last paragraph, then you're going to have to send another follow up email, or maybe some of the directions were at the bottom. So then you're going to get an email asking, how do I log in? And so that is very difficult, and it's very time consuming for individuals to do. And it's a lot of follow up that's completely unnecessary. So that time it takes, that decision fatigue, and the mental clutter just can really take away from your business.
Yeah. One of the things I've done recently is in ChatGPT, and I'm sure you can do this on other AI platforms as well, is there is a Google connector, a Gmail connector. And so I've connected my Gmail to ChatGPT. I then asked it to go and do a cleanup because I had months and months and months of email. Like, honestly, I get spammed by so many different things, like you subscribe to something and then all of a sudden you get like 20 emails a week. So what you can do is you can actually go and ask it to organize your mailbox and put all the emails that are important in a particular folder and leave it in the inbox, but everything else gets filed away. And you can also say, well, hey, I've got this email from this person and could you help me reply to it? And it will let you go and find that email and give you the reply. And you can send it directly from ChatGPT. So
That's
that's another
awesome.
way. So it's almost like you've got your agent. It's weird because Gemini doesn't do this. Gemini will craft the individual email for you, and where Google actually had a way of being able to assist you with cleaning up your emails and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure it's there, but I haven't been able to find it. But I found through ChatGPT you can actually do that.
That's awesome. I have not used that feature, but it sounds really great because it could definitely help if you got behind, just if you got behind, which is like pretty much everybody, or
Yeah,
just saying
yeah,
like, find ones that you think are the most important. That's really cool. That is really
yeah,
cool. Did you use a
yeah. Like
specific prompt to tell it to clean up?
I just talked to it and said, I want you to go and organize my Gmail mailbox, and I want to be able to do this, 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 this. And also because I had two separate Gmail accounts, you can only connect one account. So there is a workaround that you can basically forward your emails from one mail account to the other. And then you can then end up with one account that manages everything, and you can send all your responses from that one and manage. So one becomes a forwarding, and then yes. So, and I just
Wow.
found
I
this.
look, you're teaching me something new. I love this.
Well, the only way I learnt this was by just saying to Chat, "Hey, Chat, this is my challenge. Do you know of a way I can do this?" And it said, "Yeah, absolutely. Here's the options you can do." I said, "Well, yeah, I want to choose this option." And it says, "Right, let's do this." And we set it all up, and off we went. Yeah.
I love
So
that.
yesterday I had two emails that I had to respond to, which I hadn't got to, and I said, "Look, I've got this email from a recent guest who's sent me this email. Can you help me draft a response? And this is what I want to say," because it's easier to talk than to write. Because I'm not a fast typist, so it takes me longer. Whereas I can think and know what I want to say. So if you can just
Yeah.
dictate that to chat and say, "I want you to write this email with this response," and then it will write it and make it even sound better than yourself. So yeah,
It's so awesome. I'm like, now I might
yeah,
try that. I'm like, I actually did clean up my inbox the other day, but I had to clean it up, right? So I'm like, that is really great to know for the future. And that was so smart to then forward your emails from your other email because then it does it all. Like,
yeah,
wow. I love that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's probably other ways you can, other platforms out there where you can connect multiple Gmail accounts, and then you got to pay a
Yeah.
subscription and so on. And then you end up with all these subscriptions coming out of your ears. There's so much that Chat and Claude and other chat applications can do. I think the best thing to do for entrepreneurs is actually just ask AI the question and say, what questions do you need to ask me to, and then you just answer those questions and it will do everything for you.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of ways to simplify. So it's really good when you see, especially like if you do your time tracking and then you toss it in there, it's going to be like, this is way too long. And you could be like, great, how do I make it faster? Because that is something, like you said, you discovered by being like, this is going to take me all day and I don't have all day and I don't want to even do it. Like I don't enjoy doing it.
Yeah,
So why would
yeah,
you do it? And then you ask chat and it gave you that really cool way. And then even forwarding, so smart. Like I love that.
mm,
Those things save so much time and mental space. Like even writing an email, like it's not what you want to say. You told chat what to say, and usually it just makes it sound like professional or friendly or whatever version you're going for. But it's like
yeah,
that was so easy versus like opening your email, composing, sending, like even eliminating those steps gives you more mental space. So it's like, man,
yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
one of the things I've done, and you've seen my ecosystem that I've built, in my guesting platform that I've built, I have this thing called guest emails. So when I get an email from someone, because normally my guests come through Podmatch or other agencies. But if someone emails me directly wanting to be a guest, all I do is drag and drop that email into the label called guest priority. And then I go back to my platform and I go fetch. And it fetches those emails from that label. And then it automatically writes the email for me. And then I just hit the preview button. I go, okay, yep, that's cool. Or I just edit a few things, go send, and it's gone. And it's done. And then what it does is that it not only sends the email from that label, it then goes and archives it into a different label.
Wow. Did you tell it to do that? Did you say after?
Yeah,
I
I
love
built
that.
it. I said, this is what I want to do. I want you to fetch it. When I push the fetch button, then I want you to create the response. And then once I hit send, I want that email to be taken out of that label and added to the replied email. So
That is
replied
so
label.
smart.
And so it's all automated. Like you coming on this podcast, you came on a discovery call, you filled out a form, you submitted it, it ended in my pipeline. When we were on the call, I pushed approve. You got an automated email. Then you went to that page and filled out the details. Again, all that information came through and it's synced up to the calendar as well. So my whole guesting platform works on autopilot. I
That's
have
so
very
phenomenal.
minimal work that I have to do.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. It makes it so much easier because, like, you're on a podcast with me. Could you be if you had to do all of that stuff? Like, maybe not. You know, you would probably have to reduce your number that you could take because you'd be sitting here typing emails, you know?
Yeah,
So it's
well, I
like,
think since the last time you and I spoke,
uh-huh.
I've now got 72 guests in my pipeline.
Oh my gosh. They're like,
So
we're
if you can,
coming for you.
so if you can imagine how you manage that through email, it's just not possible. I ended up building a platform for myself that actually does everything for me.
I love that. That's so smart.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's what people need to see is like, what can I do? Like, and even that, like that is technically something that people hire out is inbox management, right? That's an actual thing people hire out. And it's like, well, if you could just teach them this skill, then they don't need to hire out. So it's like, and you did that. You said, I don't like it. How do I do it? I'm spending too much time or I don't have the time. And so that's when you can toss it into chat. You can ask somebody because even if I had that problem today and I was like, well, what do you do? You know, you could have told me that, you know, and then you just put it in place and it makes life so much simpler if you can eliminate a lot of those steps. Like you still have steps, right? Like you still tell chat like, hey, reply and include these like three things. But that's still tiny, tiny, tiny in comparison to all the steps it was before. And when you can make those simpler, like you just have more time to do what you enjoy more. And I love that. I love that so much. That was a really smart idea.
yeah. And recently, like I had a guest who also has a podcast, but has multiple hosts on there, and he has a team of people. And he said to me, I can't believe that you run this podcast by yourself and you have this many guests coming through and you do everything from scratch. So, like, I don't have a video editor. I do everything myself. But because I've systemized everything, that systemizing and automating of the processes has actually reduced the amount of time. So I would say it's probably reduced 80% of my time that used to spend manually doing stuff. Yeah.
It's amazing. And when you were able to and express to I and say like what I don't like this or I want this, it was able to help come up with solutions. And some of them you probably already knew, like I need to systemize this process. And then you can ask, how do I systemize this process? And so it's been able for you not to hire out because you've been able to systemize everything so epically well. And so many people struggle with that a lot. And so I hope that they see this and they hear it and they know like putting those systems in place can really help you be able to scale and grow your business and do what you were designed to do, which is run a business, not an inbox.
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty of this is that the fact that I've done it for myself has also given me the opportunity to help other podcast guests. So some of my guests are actually podcast hosts as well. And they've actually said to me, hey, look, I want something similar. So it's It's interesting. It's like I've solved a problem for myself, but it's also a problem that I'm helping solve for others as well.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
so many people have it. So many people have it. So
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
amazing that you didn't even start to solve, world hunger, right? You started with yourself and you realize like how big the need is out there for it.
Well, the interesting thing is, Jillian, is that when we change ourselves, we create a change in the world, right? So when we come to the awareness that things aren't working and we decide to make the change in our lives, then we naturally create that change for others as well, because
Hmm.
we show up in a different way. And
Yeah.
the so the way we show up as a human being also determines how we show up in our business as well.
Yes. Yes.
Mm,
And I think when you can show up with that clarity, it gives you the ability to do as much as like someone like you has done by yourself. And that is like so phenomenal to see, because it really is like, it just makes it amazing.
yeah, absolutely. Now, how can building one simple workflow create immediate relief for business owner?
Deadlines are so much easier. They're so much easier to meet with workflows. So if you have everything in place, it's very easy to see. It's very easy to see if there's an issue in the workflow. So any type of manual process, there's a million errors that can occur. So many. So just creating that really takes that out of it. And then it takes the follow-up through, if you have a workflow and you have scheduled inside of it your follow-up, it takes that out. And then it just like small things like the onboarding and the follow-up and the emails, when you have a workflow for those things cannot fall through the cracks because there are no cracks. It sends it out and you're done. So it really can let you breathe easier. Just one, even just starting with one, you'll start to see individuals will really start to see the weight that that takes off of them. And then some are going to
Mm,
be super awesome like you and automate like 80% of it. But a lot of times you can see one thing, what you can do, and it really opens your eyes to the relief that you can create for yourself and your business.
yeah, I would say that. Look, obviously there is some level of technical expertise you'd need, or you'd need to engage with someone who can help you build some of those workflows. But I would say 90 or 80% of the time, you if you've got a creative thought of like, if you've got a creative idea, and you can then, with your critical thinking, your logic, be able to go, okay, well, this is the process. Or if you can map out a process that you already have that's repeatable,
Hmm.
then there is no reason not you can't automate this. Now, even before AI came along, for me, in my corporate journey, I used to work on with solution architects and so on to come up with automation. And I didn't necessarily do all the work, but I came up with the idea, right? And
Hmm.
then I
Yeah.
got other people to execute it for me. So it's often understanding, like you said, time tracking, and then being able to understand where is your time being spent most, and what are the tasks that you're doing that are repetitive, that AI loves,
Hmm.
or automation loves, and that you don't necessarily enjoy doing, right? So when you can identify those things and say, well, I don't enjoy doing this, and this is a repeatable task, that's a perfect opportunity to automate, and using automation or AI.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That really helps so much just to eliminate any stress that you're feeling.
Yeah. Well, and saying that, I'll also add to that is that if you've got existing processes, then also make sure that they are efficient, because often processes, in my experience, are made up of workarounds and band-aids. And when those band-aids fall off, then things stop working. So it's important that we pull it apart, give it a clean, and put it back together so it works more efficiently.
Yes, and like it totally makes sense, right, that you would have band-aids, things come up that we're unprepared for. So it's like it is okay, but typically under the band-aid is something kind of ugly. Like you said, we gotta take it off and actually deal with it and say, is this a one-off? Would a system in place helped it? Because most of the time they're not one-offs. They feel like it, they'll come up in another week or two. We'll see they were not a one-off, and we need a system in place to help break that pattern. So,
Yeah,
so great to do
absolutely.
that. Absolutely.
Abs- yeah, absolutely. Now, sometimes people worry about putting systems in place that make their business feel less human or less
Yes.
personal. How do good systems actually improve the client experience rather than remove the human touch?
Yes, that's such a good question because so many people act like AI is going to bite and it doesn't have teeth, so like we're safe. No, I'm kidding. But when you automate things, it allows you to have room to be more personal and to spend more time. So if you are working on a client solution versus writing a thanks for joining email, that is what they want. They don't want, like, in general, people do not want a personalized email that's like, I'm so excited for A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's usually what you say on a call, and you let them know why you're excited. But what they want to know is how you're actually applying your knowledge to help their business grow or to help them succeed in whatever it is you're selling. I I was thinking of there is this food truck that comes and it has fish and they do fried fish and it is so good. And so I don't want an email from them saying they're so happy I'm going to eat their fish. Like, I don't want that. I just want, like, we're coming. I don't need it to even say, how it has the automated, like, hello, Jillian. I don't even need the hello, Jillian. Just tell me when you're coming so that I can get there and where. And then when I'm there, when they're like trying to make the wait quick, when there's like a 30-person lineup and they're trying to make it quick. And when you get it and they're like, I'm so sorry about the wait. Like, we're really grateful that you're here. That makes me want to come back, not their email. Like, it just tells me when and where. And that's all I need as a person. So you can have those moments. And a lot of those people, imagine if that person on the truck who is baking the cod is the one who is sending out emails or being like, Jillian, we remember last time you brought your kid and he loved our fish. What? Like, don't waste your time in that way. And it's like, make the experience when they're with you and automate everything else. And that way you have more mental space to dedicate to it. You can still do personal email reminders. Like, you can automate stuff, but you can remember, oh, my client said while we were on the line that they were taking their dog to the vet. I'm going to send out a follow-up email and say, I hope your dog is doing well. But guess what? If you're writing a whole email sequence to them, you're not going to be thinking about their dog that went to the vet. So it's like when you take all of the normal stuff out, then you still have the ability to be personal. No one, including AI, is going to tell you you can't send an email. So you can knock yourself at any time you want, knock yourself out and write a whole long personal email. That's what you desire. But take it out so that way it's your choice and you can use your creative writing or whatever it is you like to do when sending emails.
Yeah, absolutely. How do better workflows build more trust and confidence with clients?
They just really know what to expect and when to expect. Like, every time I have a call, I get a reminder 1 hour before. So it's really nice. I love it. Then I don't have to be like, wait, did I put it in my calendar? I can just look at my inbox 1 hour and the link will be there. So then they can rest at ease. And again, they can think less so that way you can get further in your calls on what you're working on. So no matter what you're working on, again, it could be helping a business, it could be working on someone's nervous system reset, anything. But you can get much further if people feel at ease and heard and at peace when they know what to expect.
Thank you for that. Last question. In what ways can systems actually allow a business to feel more personal and not less?
I think it's very similar to what I said. You can have way more touch points if you're not doing so many. Like, imagine if you're emailing someone Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Do you have anything new to say? I hope not. It's a lot of emails. So when you have like your automated like Friday work email that goes out and says whatever, it still allows you another touch point in the week to come up with creativity to connect more. and it allows you more time if you do, like you have, like say you have group calls in your program. It allows you to be like, oh, I'm going to stay on this call late today. Why? Because you're not sending out all these unnecessary emails, and you have more time to actually help them make progress in whatever it is they're trying to make progress in. So I really think people, they think about it like, well, they might know AI wrote it, but typically they're not looking for severe, like intense human connections in an email. They're looking to be reminded to attend something or to see something. And then there's always like social media where you can like record videos of yourself if you like for more human touch points. But even directing them there, like I know you were talking about how you will subscribe to an email and then you get so many of them and you're like, ew. But a lot of times, even that, you can get a generic email that has a small again, 30-second clip, and you're like, that's an interesting topic. And then you're going to click on it and go to their social media and have even more touch points there if they have videos present. So there are lots of ways to make people feel comfortable and I'll get them that human touch that they're looking for that really leads to a very, very, very wonderful working relationship because they get to know you a little bit. You get to know them because they're telling you, oh, I watched this video of you and you were talking about XYZ. I'm struggling with that. Perfect. So then you know exactly we have a video on it. So you obviously help somebody with it. So you're like, oh my gosh, I help people with that. And it really can just make the connection so feel so organic, even if you've never talked to them before. So
Yeah.
it really, really helps.
Thank you, Jillian, for being wonderful answering all these questions. If people have been watching or listening to this episode and they want to connect with you and learn more about what you do, offers you have on at the moment, tell us a little bit about how people can connect with you and what you've got on offer.
Yeah, best way is I can put my social media and you can put that in the comments. And then on my website is super great because there's an assessment there, very, very brief, that you can submit. And then that way it gets you notified if I'm doing a workshop up and coming. Again, you just want something really, sometimes they're free, sometimes they're low ticket, just to get to know my personality and my style to see if there are ways that I can help you even further.
Absolutely. Who are the people that you currently work with that you love to work with?
Yes, I work with small business owners and service-based entrepreneurs. So my biggest joy point is about like 6 months to 4 years in business. So I can work with anybody, but that's the area that I have an extra spark of joy for. So it can be anyone from like a hairdresser to a therapist to a coffee shop, anybody, coaches, consultants, and just really get a joy out of helping others grow.
Nice. Sounds great. All right. Now, we'll put those links into the show notes, but also there'll be a dedicated page for you on the Champion Mindset Collective Hub, and it will have everything on there, the links, it will have the videos, the article, a practical guide, which will basically distill everything that we've talked about in this episode into a little 3-page guide that people can download as well, and they'll help them on their way. Now, we're at the quick fire round, so we've got 6
Yes.
very quick questions for you. You can answer these in
Okay.
a short sentence or a single word. And the first question is, how do you define success? And has that definition evolved for you over time?
I think for me, success would just be living a life of freedom. And for me, that's a balance between work, family, and traveling. So I just like to have a great balance, which means everything often. So that would be like my personal definition. I know everyone's differs a little, but I love new experiences. So yeah.
Hmm. Who's been your greatest inspiration and why?
I don't know if I would name a specific person, but I think I would say the thing that has been my greatest inspiration is just the fact of being able to see businesses and even people just grow. Like it's so exciting to see taking on new things and accomplishing things. Like even a friend who will call and be like, I got a new job. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Because they wanted and they felt stuck. And I feel really inspired by seeing any action steps that people are taking in their business or in their personal life to see growth. Because I think think it's amazing to not stay stagnant.
What is something that you believe that others may disagree with?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think I would say, like we've talked about, like hiring and not hiring, right? Like hiring soon and not hiring soon. But I think one thing that I would say is it's phenomenal to simplify and organize before you hire. So it's kind of like we said earlier, like if you don't know the problem, you can't solve the problem. And so often I've had a few people recently who are like, oh, it's just too much. I just need to hire. And it's like, that's so, like, I support that. I really do. If you feel like it's too much, but we have to figure out what is too much. So you know exactly what you're looking for. What task exactly do you want them to do? So I think a lot of people jump to hiring, but I really advise simplifying before you do that to see if there's any other way, and not even for financial sake, just because you want to be able to scale. So the more things are systemized, the more you're going to be able to do that quicker with or without somebody.
Mm. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
I think in general, I would just say start sooner. Like sometimes you can't build out the full picture, and you really could spend 10 years building out a picture that's not possible when you put it into reality. So just like, and I had mentioned this earlier that hey, if you have a plan, you want to move a little bit slow. You want to like think about it and not just jump without a thought or, things built out. But when you build out, it does not need to take like 6 months or a year, like you can launch a whole business in weeks, really, if you wanted to, depending on how simple you're going. But oftentimes people think I need to have all my ducks in a row before starting this business or starting this new thing in my life. And you really don't. You really just need to start and then evaluate as you go.
What is one message that you'd like to share with the world?
I think the biggest thing I would say is that chaos is expensive and clarity is what's going to create freedom. So anytime you're in the weeds, you really got to get out of it. And it's okay. Like, you'll have a rough Monday, a rough week. But when it starts expanding beyond that, you really got to evaluate because that gets expensive real quick.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you on that. And what does it mean to you to be a champion and have a champion mindset?
I think it really means just to keep showing up, and to keep reevaluating. It's very hard sometimes when you create a process, you're like, done, but it's not always done, right? Lots of things need edited, lots of things need multiple rounds. And I think just being open to this process worked last month, it's not working this month. This process worked last year, it's not working this year. It's never failure. It's only a new problem to figure out and growth to be had. So it's not negative. So just showing up and really just evaluating as you go, being open to it.
Mm. Thank you, Jillian. It's been an amazing conversation today. What I really appreciate about this conversation is that you're giving so many overwhelmed entrepreneurs the permission to stop carrying everything manually. And you've reminded us that burnout is not often a personal weakness, but a systems problem, and that we can build businesses that actually support our lives rather than constantly training them. To everyone who's been listening to this, and if this has resonated with you, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and also share it with someone that could benefit from this. Lastly, I just want to say that Jillian's work and the content will be on the page on the Champion Mindset Collective and in the show notes. Building a champion mindset sometimes means stepping back and building the right systems. And sometimes you need to pause. So it's not about the grind, just pushing forward. Sometimes you've got to step back and pause and just really see and get clarity around where the bottlenecks are, where you can actually simplify, systemize. I like to say stabilize, systemize, and then accelerate. And thanks for being part of the Champion Mindset Collective. And we'll see you next time. Lastly, I just want to say you are loved, you're worthy, champion your life, champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.